Welcome to this edition of FM On Demand. I'm your host, Mike Bazalka. Today I'm speaking with Pam Lampitt, Director of Business Services at the University of Pennsylvania. She's joining us today to talk about some of the new initiatives and concepts being rolled out this fall in the university's campus dining program. Pam, thanks for joining us today. Let me start by asking about some of the adjustments in the meal plan. I understand the meal swipe program for the meal plan was expanded for this year. Tell me why that was done and what it means for students.
Well, first of all, thank you. And I appreciate you highlighting the University of Pennsylvania and the program that we're delivering to our students, albeit still under pandemic and COVID sort of conditions. So for many years, we've heard from our students that they had too many swipes left over. You know, our meal swipes for our all you care to eat operations could not be carried over from one semester to the other, but our dining dollars could. We also heard, from our students that they thought that the value of the swipe was not, in line with what they could get at food trucks on campus. So we really had to take a hard look at the value of the meal swipe, the ability to use the meal swipe, and it really took on this meaning of flexibility and where our students are and at what time. So what we did was we have now created, because the university is now requiring our second year students to live on campus, and because they're living on campus, university now requires them to have a meal plan. That was the second impetus to be able to expand the swipe program. So many of our second year students are living in our high-rise facilities that have kitchens. So one of the ideas that we came up with was coming up with our own very similar meal kit, Blue Apron, where a full meal for two people would be available. The student would use two swipes, take it back to their room and be able to cook it on their own and wow their dinner guest with their culinary abilities. We've also known that access to things that are celebratory, like a small birthday cake or a celebration, you pass that tough exam. So we have celebration cakes available for our students to be able to use a swipe. We've also really truly expanded our meal exchange program to the point where from basically 11 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock at night, a student on campus could use a swipe for a meal exchange. And the meal exchange could be something like sushi and a beverage at one of our locations, or a rice bowl and noodle bowl and a beverage at one of our locations. But it also could be a sandwich or a freshly made salad, three sides like a yogurt and a granola bar, a piece of fruit and a beverage at various locations throughout our campus. Because sometimes our students just get to be the point where they sometimes forget to eat. So making it available to them throughout the program was very important. And at one of our locations where we have late night cook to order operations, we also offer a meal exchange, which is utilization of swipes. So that basically recaps, what are we doing differently?
Mm-hmm.
How are we focusing? Why are we doing it? And, we're seeing a great response, fantastic response for sushi and the sushi bowls at this point.
Well, it certainly sounds like a lot more value for students and a lot more user-friendly. I understand you also have some new dining concepts introduced this fall on campus. Tell me about those.
So the university over the last 5-6 years have built their first two purposely built residence halls. One is called Lauder College House, where we have a very unique dining experience down there. It's a very small dining space, and we feature a featured dinner entree there, which last night happened to be pork tenderloin stuffed with apricot stuffing, with spinach, and I forget what else. But these are much higher level customized featured entrees. It could be lobster macaroni and cheese. It could be lamb chops, crab cakes, ahi tuna. We also have focused about vegetarian and vegan entrees. Is really a specialty kind of featured entree. Our second purposely built residence hall, New College House, hasn't quite been named yet, so we're still sticking with New College House. Features a coffee bar called Cafe West, which is just a small operation coffee bar. When the university was building it, the facility, they presented the plans to the president, and the president said they're looking through all the plans, and she's approving and very excited. And she says, well, where's your dining cafe? And we said, we didn't build one, you know? And they said, oh, no, it needs one. So literally, you know, in 3 months period of time, working with the project team and architects and everybody else, we enclosed a pathway to create what we call the patio, which is where the dining space is. We took over the house director's office to put a kitchen. And I came up with the thought that a kitchen's part of the home. And because of where the kitchen was located, students would be walking by all the time. They'd be smelling the smells of the kitchen. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to create a life skills engagement kitchen, one that presented a higher level of a culinary experience. And we hired a fantastic chef who's well known in the city of Philadelphia, who is providing basically 5-star meals to our students. It's with reservations because it's a very small kitchen, and only capacity for about 70 some odd seats in the dining space. And so we have to have our students reserve their seat, which is something not really typically done on a college campus. We're hoping at this location too that we're going to highlight what the culinary skill of the day is, and students will pop in and they'll say, well, what do you mean about braising? What does braising mean versus sauteing? I thought they were the same. And the chef would be able to interact with the students. We'll also be offering formal culinary lessons, which a lot of universities have done as well. At Houston Market, which has been an extremely popular retail location, we changed one of the concepts from a more Asian-based concept to a Mexican-based concept called La Plancha. And it's going over extremely well. Mexican food is always a winner on a college campus. We didn't originally think that we wanted to have one there because we had another Mexican concept someplace else when we built Houston Market, but realizing now that we needed to bring Mexican back in. So we have La Plancha at Houston Market. I told you about sushi over at McClellan. And I think that that's pretty much the new concepts.
Well, it certainly sounds like quite a bit. I also understand you're expanding the use of automation in the form of like ordering kiosks and the PennEats app you have. I'll talk about the benefits that these things bring to students and to the program.
Well, because some of our locations are just so wildly popular, students can use the PennEats app for many of our locations, and we expanded them now to various locations like Pret on campus, or one of our smaller coffee bars, Joe's, and another one, Accenture. So we've expanded where they can use PennEats, and our students will realize that they could be sitting in class and they know it may take a half an hour to be able to get the burrito at La Plancha. So they'll sit in class, order it, and be able to know the fact that when they get to Houston Market, it will be ready for them. That's the goal. The goal is to be able to teach students, how to plan better and how to forecast, where they want to eat, when they want to eat, and make it convenient for them. It also enables us to send out some push messaging, which, obviously from a social media standpoint, obviously supports our program. The Quaker Kitchen is using it for reservation system. And we decided that at a couple of our all-you-care-to-eat locations, that the line became so long at the omelet station or the expo station, which could be, a taco bar or any one of those types of things, that we decided to put a kiosk in those dining facilities. So a student now will go up and they'll create their order. They can go around, they can go get their beverage, they can get, something else that accompanies their entree that they're ordering, and be able to get everything that they need, and then go back to the location and their order is done for them. So trying to think about the management of time, the spatial area, because, we're still very conscious of how close students are in our dining cafes, and communication. It's been really hard with masks and plexiglass and more masks to hear students, so that this provides, and this is one of those stations that you have to tell or communicate to the dining employees so many different things that it can get lost. And the one thing we don't want to do is put an ingredient in something that a student didn't want. So doing this was extremely important for us for accuracy and convenience.
And safety.
And-
Any other initiatives or new concepts on tap coming later this fall? If so, what are they?
Well, the Quaker kitchen cooking, the culinary skills. I just got off the phone with the vice provost for education on the campus, and trying really to tie together some of the educational components on the campus into implementation, all in the same sort of time frame of coursework. I think we all know, that if you're able to apply things that you're learning into implementation in real time, there's a better chance of it being retained. So, I'll be reaching out to them. We're also, we launched a really successful, fun program called Penn Cooks in the fall of 19, where Penn Dining, knew that what we could deliver to our very diverse campus was looking at the calendar, looking at the community that we serve, and taking authentic cookbooks and replicating recipes from these authentic cookbooks. So in September, we will be doing a Latinx theme. In October, we're going to be highlighting LGBTQ History Month. We've had this relationship with Liz Alpern, who wrote the cookbook, Gefilte Manifesto. She came to campus before. She's going to come back again. She'll make something from her cookbook. She'll be interacting with our students. Previous years, we had Aaron McCargo come to the campus. He wrote a cookbook. He was the Food Network star. He came for Black History Month. We had a young gentleman whose family owns a very popular restaurants within the city, who graduated Penn, and had him interacting with our students about how he went from being a Penn student and a Penn graduate to being in this restaurant industry. And so Penn Cooks is something that we're going to continue highlighting cookbooks, highlighting and appreciating the diversity, really working with our cultural centers, our diverse cultural centers on campus, to support their efforts as well, to really celebrate, the diversity and through food on campus.
Well, this has been a very challenging time, so any ways to celebrate are certainly welcome. Finally, I wanted to ask you, what long-term changes do you see this pandemic experience having on campus dining generally, not just at Penn?
Well, I think obviously technology. We need to figure out how to continue to use technology. We need to continue to think about the sustainability aspect of what's our responsibility for our planet. So the Green to Go program, expanding it somehow. It's been very successful, but in addition to that, it may be a little bit limiting, trying to figure out how to expand it so that somebody could take a soup out of the residents at the dining cafe as well. I just think that students want to eat safely, and I don't know that that's going to go away anytime too soon. So providing a opportunity for students to obtain food as safely as possible and dine as safely as possible, I think it's going to be here to stay for a while.
Yeah. All safety first. Pam, thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining us today.
I appreciate it. Thank you.